Hey guys, welcome back to VM Nation. We are live. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. Thank you guys for following VM Nation. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach over there. There it is. Today we're going to be talking life, love, baseball bats. Yeah, that's where we're going to be talking about that. Podcasting and everything else in life with my friend Dave, and he had me on his amazing show, and I was totally blown away by him. So I can't wait to be able to chat with him. But first, I want to thank our sponsors. I got a new sponsor, and they're actually old friends of ours. If you come to Jersey and you love to eat great breakfast and lunch, definitely check out Mr. G's Eatery. Great people, great owners. Amazing people, and they have a heart, and they love veterans and first responders. If you're a veteran and first responder, you get 10% off everything every day just because you're a veteran and first responder. Second sponsor I'd like to thank is me. Our new stuff just dropped. We got new T-shirts. I get with the one that I'm wearing. Our new coffee, Vertical Momentum Coffee, just dropped. So it's not Sanka, so it's not your mother's coffee. And everything that I do, all my proceeds go to help veterans that are struggling with homelessness and mental health issues. So if you guys want to support me, support mental health issues, definitely check out the swag and check out the coffee. So guys, this is going to be a fun and amazing conversation with a gentleman that I call Uncle Dave. And I think Dave is truly amazing. Dave, what's up, brother?
Yo, brother, what's going on, man? I love it. Thank you so much.
How's everything going?
Things are going well, man. I love it, man. Things just keep going better and better. You sit down and you meditate a little bit in the morning, or I do, and I start going, what do I need in my life? And I'm getting all the things that I need in my life. It really is. I would have never believed all that years ago about this law of attraction, but that shit really works, man.
You know, and I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday on the show, and we were talking about how the mind really hasn't changed over the last 100 years. And, you know, I'm a big history buff. And, you know, even back in the early 1900s, Andrew Carnegie was talking about what you obsess over is what you eventually possess. So, you know, and like I think when we were talking on your show about, you know, our mind has the RAS system, the Reticular Activating System, that, you know, whatever you see eventually, you know, like when you buy a brand new blue car, all of a sudden everybody's got that same blue car because you're so focused on it. So like what you're talking about is when you see the positive in life, you start attracting more of the positiveness, correct?
100%. Yeah. The more you surround yourself with it and you start looking through it, I had created this process called Kluberty. It's really, how the hell did I get here? And, you know, what are you going to do with it? So, you know, we've all gone through these different moments in our life, but we want to stop it. So you got to stop the patterns and looking at it. That was some of the things that we talk about. And really, that's the bring a bat moments. That's when we bring a bat is go, I got to create my boundaries. I got to know what my non-negotiables are. And am I doing that? And that's my biggest question that I always ask everybody. How's that working for you? And if it's not working for you, you got to do something else, right? We got to retool. We bring our cars in for, you know, tune-ups all the time. We need to bring ourselves into a tune-up as well.
So talk to us a little bit about where you come from, where you grew up, and what made you the man that you are today.
Oh, that's a little longer than a half hour, but I'll give you the short Brooklyn speech. So obviously I come from New York. I grew up in Brooklyn. I was actually born on an Air Force base. I was born in San Antonio. My dad was just transitioning out of the Air Force at that time. And I was born in Texas in December, and he was honorably discharged in January. So grew up most of my life in blue collar mentality. You know, work hard, pick yourselves up, and do what you can. And I've done that. But we also have a lot of filters. So I learned a lot of crap that was not useful for me. And you get to a lot of points in our life where things happen. And basically what brought me to where I'm at now is where I've been coaching. I've been assisting people through different sets of experiences and moving past it, because I believe we're all phoenixes, and we rise from the ashes. And how do we rise? It's, really just at a point of doing that. And once we do that, that really is really what tests us up. I mean, you and I spoke about some of the challenges that you've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up in Brooklyn, look, I wasn't the toughest guy in the world, and I'm still not the toughest guy in the world. But so the bring a bat is not about like we're going to go hit somebody's kneecaps. It really is. You need to take a stand in life, and that's what I help people through my charitable efforts. As I said, I'm looking to support you in every way that we can, because I want to, again, thank you and all of the veterans and first responders for kind of giving those blank checks. I mean, that's what a veteran is. It's somebody who gave a blank check to the country, and hopefully we didn't cash in on it. Look, I did lose a cousin who lives in Jersey during the Afghan war, and so there's definitely pieces of all of us in that, and I always want to thank veterans in everything I do. So as and that's how it kind of brought us together in connection, because we all do think alike, and finding those commonalities.
So now, what are some of the things that you actually had to, because I don't care who you are, everybody has had challenges, everybody has had struggles. What were some of the struggles that you had to break through as a young man and as you grew older?
Yeah, that's funny. So that's exactly how I came up with the word kluberty. So like when I was little, I got picked on all the time, and my parents couldn't afford to send me to like the little league, but all the other boys were playing little league and stuff like that. So you're excluded. You start feeling yourself that I'm not worthy. Not you really don't say those things to yourself, but I can't be like everybody else. And you go through life, and don't get me wrong, I've had a great life, and my parents did the best they could do. Then in my 20s, I had a woman that I was going to marry. We talked about it, and then she got hit by a drunk driver. I was the last person to speak to her. And I said to her, go to the party. Don't worry about it. She didn't drive. She didn't do anything. The guy who eventually killed her went on the sidewalk and didn't purposely hurt her, but he definitely did hurt her, and she passed away. This is 20. I was ready. Literally, she was coming home from college in California, and we were going to get engaged. So it was not like just somebody I knew and we would talk about it. There was a plan there, and then it took me a couple of years to just get my head out of my butt, if I have to really be honest with it. Then I met somebody, and I did eventually get married, and the marriage lasted for a while. I have two beautiful biological children, and at the end of the day, we're not really long-term pals, but we have the children, and you get through that. That was the first day that I actually thought about being a phoenix, and when I started using that reference, because the reference is really about what do you do when you're hit rock bottom? You have a lot of choices at that point. You could stay down there and you could wallow it, and you could say, yeah, this is affecting me, or you could say, I'm going to step up. How can I do this? And sometimes by doing that is the first thing that we do, is just even thinking about, I want to do something better. And when you do that, that's when it really starts growing. And then you get through other life things. I mean, my dad passed away. I had to then move my mom down to live near my sister. I was a caregiver, but look, New Jersey and New York, it's pretty expensive up here. It's tough. So you make the best decisions possible. And those are heavy decisions that you have to do.
Now, there's a lot of people, like if a marriage comes to an end, or if a business comes to an end, they see it as failure. And I always say that failure is an event. It's not a person. And I think that we can, I love the comeback stories. I love, I always go for the underdog, always, every movie, and I believe that, people do love, the underdog story. If Rocky didn't lose the fight in Rocky 1, there would have never been a Rocky 2.
Right.
So talk to us about, having that mindset to say, okay, I didn't fail. I just didn't win, but I learned a lesson. So talk about that.
Yeah, sure. Of course. So So like I said, I've been mentoring and coaching for a number of years. But 2 years ago, I actually tried to hurt myself. So when I was going through that period where my dad had passed away, I was going through some other personal stuff, and my mom, it was all weighing on me. I wasn't using my resources. So one of the things is, I'm sure a lot of your listeners probably have gym memberships, but they're not going to the gym membership. Well, guess what, guys and girls and anything else? Guess what? That's not going to change your physical ability if you don't go to the gym membership. Same thing with your mental health. If you're not taking care of it, guess what? It does weigh on you. All those things that you go, I don't care, I don't care. You really do. It's those little packages that we hold on to. And stress lives in a lot of different areas of our body. And by using that, we can not worry about it. But when it starts packing up, it's time to clean the house. And that's what I do, is clean the house. And that's what I did. So after trying to hurt myself, I was a 36-hour period where I really went off the rails. And when I came back out of my ashes, I came back to myself, to my true self. I said, what do I have to do? Well, I put myself back into therapy. I did the things that I needed to do, as well as start. I knew what my resources were. I wasn't using them. And the difference now is I use them. I make sure those are my bring a bat moments. That was when I started thinking about the idea of the peace, love. Everybody knows peace and love. We could sit on top of a mountain and go peace and love all we want. But at some point, you need to have those boundaries and figure out what is it, the things that you really want. Who are you as an authentic person?
Okay, so now, no, I normally ask this question at the end of the interview, but since you brought it up, how does a person, because like for me, my defining moment, well, two of them was 9/11. We talked about that.
Yeah.
And also Memorial Day 2012. Those are my two defining moments. And that was the day when I actually had to learn who Richard was. And I had to learn how to reinvent and reimagine my life. So after that 36-hour period that you talk about, what were some of the steps you took to reimagine and reinvent your life?
Yeah, well, so I'm at the rock bottom of my life, and I thought I had already experienced some rock bottoms, but this was a completely different rock bottom for me, and I had to figure out if I want to get out. I mean, at that point, after the 36 hours, if people were like, you're going to hurt yourself, all those questions, and at that point, I lied through it. I mean, let's be honest. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to hurt myself. Was it still in the back of my head? Sure, 100%. Then I got the biggest question that I had ever gotten, and that question was, Dave, do you love yourself? And I had to think about it. And if you have to think about it, the answer is no, right? So if you're in a relationship, and the best relationship we have is the one within ourselves. If you have to say, think about it, the answer is no, right? I don't recall if you have any children, but you don't have to say, yeah, right. I think you have a son. I think we talked about that. But if I go, Richard, hey, do you love your son? The answer is yes. Like, do I like him all the time? No. I'm going through that with teenage girls, but do I love them? 1,000%. I could, and that's how I grew up. I mean, my father and I didn't get along, and we didn't have a good relationship until the very end, which I was glad for, and I thank God for allowing that into my life. But those are the things. So when you start thinking about how you want to get up, and you're going to get up every day, unless you hurt yourself, and I don't recommend it. And what I will tell people is 89% of people who have tried to hurt themselves have failed, have not succeeded in hurting themselves. And then what do? So I was like, all right, during my 36 hours, I had heard a voice from a Grandpa Mike. I don't have a Grandpa Mike, but from a Grandpa Mike who said, you need to go out there and talk to people, and you're not done yet. You're not done yet. Get the hell back and talk about mental health. Talk about who you are. And that's what I did, is I knew the things I needed to talk about, and I started building it up. Every day it didn't feel good. It didn't feel good for a long time. And it was that day by day. Consistency will get you there. So sometimes you do have to fake it. I don't like that, toxic positivity. Fake it till you make it. But sometimes you need to do that a little bit. You can't do it all the time. And that's where you use resources. Find the resources that you need to do for yourself. And I did. And I found out some of the areas where I was less successful, and I started researching why was I less successful, asking the questions, engage with people, find a mentor. I think having a mentor or peer-to-peer, there's a lot of peer-to-peer out here on the island. And I'm sure there's peer-to-peer in Jersey as well as
Yeah.
everywhere else. I mean, the Dwyer Project is an amazing peer-to-peer for veterans. And it really is. If again, I'm not a veteran, so I apologize to any veterans by saying the foxhole mentality. And I don't want to, make it more than what it is. But there is a huge piece of that of saying, hey, I know what you went through. I might not have gone through it. Empathy, not that I went through it and I know exactly what you went through. But there is a point of really powerful piece of how that works. And that's what I did is piece by piece, and I knew my resources. And when I was able to create that new pattern for me, I was successful. And I've been doing it for other people, and I've always been able to do that for other people, but not for myself, because at that time I didn't love myself. I can tell you today, I do love myself. Do I like every decision I make? No. But do I love myself? Would I ever think about hurting myself again? No. 100%. That's a guarantee. That's not a lie. Where at the beginning, you fake it a little bit. But I am not the same person I was 2 years ago. I haven't wasted my last 2 years.
And I love that. And I just dropped my book just dropped, and now we have new bonus stuff that we dropped, and I started my own coaching business, which I've had but not officially, where I can turn your whole life around. I can help you turn your whole life around in 90 days, guaranteed. No, it's guaranteed. But you got to do the work. And like the three things that I think that can help turn a person's life around is three things that I call the forgiveness, the big three. One is you have to forgive people that have hurt you in the past. You don't forget. There's a difference between forgetting and forgiving. And then, ask for forgiveness for all the people you've hurt. Because, we've all hurt people. And hurt people, unfortunately. So if you do those two things, then the third thing is if you can forgive yourself, that is the hardest thing. But once you have the big three of forgiveness, it takes all that junk out of your rucksack, and you don't have to carry it around anymore.
Yeah.
So 100%. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. So what you've done is just explained, and I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Ho'oponopono. If you see it written down, you're like, holy shit, what the hell is that? But what it is, it's a Hawaiian prayer, and it's 4 simple phrases. And it really is talking about healing within ourselves will then change the world and change other people. So now I'm going to tell you the 4. It's easy, simple. I'm sorry. And if you think about when you talk to yourself, exactly like you said, forgive yourself. So I would say start with yourself. You can't work with other people if you can't work with yourself first. And that's why I always say I'm my best client, because when I take the time to make sure I do that, then I'm in the best place possible, because I'm in a state of grace in some ways. So the first thing was, like I said, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Again, we're asking that for ourselves. Then it says, thank you. Thank you for that grace that we give each other, and that you forgive yourself, because you're really healing yourself. And then I love you. Make sure that you say, I love you, but mean it. It's not like when you're with a girlfriend, you're looking to get out and you go, yeah, I love you. Like the people that I've said I love you to, I really meant it at that time. And in some ways, I still mean it for a lot of people who might not want to receive it. So, you can't control how other people are going to receive your message. But if you really do it with a state of grace and that true love, that it doesn't matter if they say yes or no, just unconditional love, that's what it really is powerful.
And I love that. And one thing, I try to read my Bible as much as I can. And they talk about, all different kinds of loves in the Bible. They talk about, agape and stuff. But, I've heard it said, and I believe that love is a commitment It's not an emotion. Because you can hate somebody, you can hate somebody you love at the same time. So a lot of times people, they're struggling in relationships, and they think, well, I'm falling out of love. Well, either you're committed or you're not.
Right.
It's kind of like being, half pregnant. It's like, you know. So talk to us about, how you started your podcast and why you started your podcast.
Yeah. Okay. No, thanks. So I when I was coming out of myself, right, out of that 36 hour, and it took longer than 36 hours. Like, during that 36 hours is when I was trying to hurt myself. I made it. It wasn't just one attempt. It was definitely God's way of saying, "Not your time. Don't you get it, stupid?" And that's fine. And that would be one of the things I'd say to people is stop calling yourself stupid. Always talk to yourself, because guess what? You're with yourself all the time. I've had lots of people go, "Oh, Dave, you're funny." I go, "Yeah, you should only know when I'm not around." But what you do is really just keep moving and figuring it out. So during that period is when I started thinking about how I wanted to do it. I wanted to be a TEDx speaker. To me, it was I want to. I do professional speaking, and I enjoy it. And I was not successful, so I reached out to the producer and I said, "Hey, why did I not get accepted the last time?" He said, "Well, yeah, there was some things I didn't understand." And then this time I submitted the application again, and I filled in all the questions. And I filled all the questions in. I just didn't answer it incomplete, basically balls to the wall. I mean, if we're gonna really be guys about it, or people talk about it, if you have to go all in. If you hold back, and that's what I did. I was holding back. I said, "Oh, you're going to ask me? I figured you'd give me a second round of questions." He goes, "I get 700 applications. I don't have time for that. Either you give me the application or don't give me the application."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, I'll give you the application." And I hit the home run on that shot. And I spoke about it. And that was the first time I spoke about me trying to hurt myself. My friends knew about it, and it wasn't as verbal. So on the podcast, so then I'm coming up with the story, and I had all this stuff in me over the years, and I had the story, and then podcast was exploding around COVID. As I'm clearing all these things out, I'm like, that would be cool. And one day during one of my boundaries is I make sure I make time for myself to meditate, and I was going to acupuncture. It really works, and I'm sitting in the acupuncture, and I'm like, yeah, this is all peace and love. And then I'm like, yeah, but shit still sucks. I mean, there's times that it sucks. And I'm like, you got to bring a bat, man. Like Gandhi brought a bat. Martin Luther King brought a bat. Did they hit anybody? No, they were talking about nonviolence, but they knew where they stood. That you didn't, no matter what you look at today in America, where people stand, if anything. Now, maybe we can stand a little differently or discuss those boundaries a little bit differently so we all can talk, but we all bring a bat in some way of our lives.
And I love that. I love that analogy, because I love the analogy that, even though 1 second Jesus was holding a little lamb, the next minute he's flipping concrete tables and using a whip to go after people. So there's a difference between being weak and being meek, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about.
Definitely. And that's where, and again, I come from New York, so having a New York accent just helps that a little bit. It sets me apart. I mean, when I come to a speaking gig, I have my bats. I sell bats. So I have out of the merchandise. You want to pick up a bat? Let's go pick up a bat. But then I also have a whole bunch of other peaceful things that we talk about. Much like I have where I donate, and I donate all of, not all of my proceeds, but 20% to charities, because that's what's part of us. There's an R in your heart is one of the t-shirt line I'm rolling out now, as we'll start using a bunch of R's. Because I align myself with giving back, and I think that's what we all do. Is when we help each other, we really are helping ourselves also. Again, it goes back to all in a lot of ways. It's all about us. But what are we going to do? What type of legacy do we want to have for ourselves? Because we're all good people inside our heads, but how do we get it out and do that? It's not all about money. It's not all about doing that because one of the charities I give at, I'm sure everybody drinks either a bottle of water or a can of soda. Guess what? That could help charities. And Pink Hands for Cancer, which I'll mention, is one of the charities I work for. Not work for, I assist. Tony Dean, my buddy Tony and Robert, they're amazing guys here on the island. They collect cans. They're the only people who can get me go to an Islander game. I'm a Ranger fan, so
my wife's a Rangers fan, so I get.
All right, so I like your wife in a respectful way, Bo. But no,
Don't
so
let me get my bat.
um, you know, Tony called me up. He was like, "Dave, could you come down to the Islander playoff game?" He goes, "I need you to help me collect cans and bottles for Pink Hands for Cancer." I said, "Sure, no problem." It's part of my Goons for Good thing. It's all this. What do we do with our time on this planet? Muhammad Ali had said, the price we pay for living on this planet is the service we do for others. And that's what I try to do, is do as much service as I could. I wasn't in the military, but I could do service outside of the military, as well as helping our veterans. I've found some techniques that have really helped people through some really difficult situations.
Okay, then I got a question, because I'm a big TED Talk guy. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to do my TED. I will do a TED Talk one day. And I'm reading a book called Talk Like TED. And it talks about, how the most watched talks of all time are under 18 minutes talks, and they're powerful, they're impacting, and they're doing what we're doing. We're touching hearts. So talk to us about your experience, right? Going over your TED Talk. How many times you went over your TED Talk, and how was it actually doing it for the first time?
Okay, well, that's a whole story. So practicing, I've been part of Toastmasters, so I knew how to write a speech. I've done a lot of speeches, and I'm not really great at memorization. I'll be honest with you, but I was able to do it. And then that morning, I got up and I was like, "This is it." So no matter what I do, I'll be a TEDx speaker, right? Which has a different look to it and things like that. But the real part of it was, guess what? My friends knew I had tried to hurt myself. I tried to kill myself. And but this is putting it out into the world.
Yeah.
This is big boy time.
Yeah.
So once you get it out there, you can't go back. You can't put the genie in the bottle.
Yeah. And
it became a little overwhelming for me, to be honest. But I had my back. So at that time, I had already come up with the concept of the podcast. I hadn't dropped my first episode. But I went in, as we're going outside, this was during COVID. So I swung my bat as I was waiting for my turn to go. I went there, and for me, truthfully, the presentation I could do better. The words have actually resonated with a lot of people. And I got contacted by a couple of people who were going through a period, and they needed some assistance. So I was able to give them guidance or tell them how I got through it. That I don't discuss how I tried to hurt myself. So that's not a conversation I'm going to have. I only talk about the rise, because that's what's really important, is the rise, and to remind people that 89% of those who weren't successful are still here among us, and that's who I want to talk to, is the people who need the help. We all need it. If you've yelled at your kid, you've had a mental health issue, right? We all did. Guilty as charged. I'm not going to tell you, peace and love and this. You gotta, at some point, it gets frustrating. We get frustrated, and by not being able to carry that weight, there's different ways to do it. Now, I would say that there's been times in my life that I didn't do it properly, and I'm guilty as charged for that as well. But those are the things I've learned. And again, like I said to you, I'm not the person I was 2 years ago. I'm not the person I was 6 months ago.
But I think, like I've been, people that I listen to, they say, well, I want to be some people say, well, I want to be a great speaker, or, I want to be good on camera. Well, you got to speak and you got to be on camera. So, like I talked to a young lady yesterday, she's a global speaker, and she was mentored by Mr. Les Brown. Mm-hmm. And he told her, in order to be a great speaker, you have to speak. So she started doing daily videos and on YouTube. And for me, the best way to get your story perfected is to tell your story.
Exactly.
So now talk to us about, what, why should a person start a podcast, and what would you do differently now than before you started your podcast?
Yeah, sure. So when I launched the podcast, when I dropped it, uh, I was like, nobody's going to listen to it. And then I started seeing people were listening to it. And, you have to go in with a little more confidence. I probably would have built a better team because I wasn't sure of myself. I was like, what's gonna come up? Where am I gonna get the content to? And that's why I like the interviews, because it's not about me. I don't know that anybody wants to hear me only for 45 minutes. And that was a big challenge for me, is what am I going to talk about in a way every week? And what I did is the peace and love. And I want to make sure everybody knows we're all in it together. We're all in that big foxhole where I mentioned that, is that we've all gone through those moments. And that's what I talk about, is either finding a resource like yourself or how you overcame it. Even though you're coaching, I asked you, well, what did you go through? I want people who know. I know I was a recovery coach at, so I knew that it's possible. All this is possible, not only because I've experienced it, I've seen it, I've helped it, I've held hands, I've cried with people who needed to be held. And that's what you do, is by showing up. And that's the thing I didn't realize how many people did. And that's one of those law of attraction. Every now and then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough guests. And I've been blessed with guests that, like your episode is going to be out, March or April. Like I've been guest with so many people who want to be on the guest. And the more people I talk to, the more people who want to be on a guest. And we figure it out because I want to hear everybody's story. That's the part. Anybody who wants to have a podcast, do it. You could do it for free on your phone. As long as you have a phone, go do it. Somebody will listen to it. And if not, you'll still find the value. You'll find the value for yourself. And that's the really big part. So, I don't have all these fancy sponsors yet, but the answer is I'm having a great time doing it. And I don't care what goes on. I'm wearing my t-shirts. The more people that see my t-shirts, the more people are like, oh man, where can I get one? I was like, there you go. Let's all figure it out. And it really is. Do what makes you happy. And if it makes you happy, who cares if it's only you? You are where we talked a few times about this, you are the most important thing that you need to do. So do that, whatever makes you happy. As long as it's not hurting somebody, go for it and join the podcast world.
So then, how do we find you? How do we find your podcast? How can we support your missions and what you're doing?
Yeah, thanks. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. My name is David Chametzky. It sounds really scary, but there's a Z in it. It's really okay. What you can do is find me on there. The podcast is really all over. So just peace, love, and bring a bat. Check it out. It's on Apple, Spotify, Google. It's on all the major platforms, iHeart. And it's also, it's pretty cool. I put it out on Facebook. It was ranked number 3 in spiritual podcasts by Good Pods.
I love Good. Right,
cool. So it was cool. I mean, there's always gonna be funny stories. There's veterans that come on who I had one veteran who told me what it was like to experience PTSD with his coach who helped him through it. So it's not only about coming to me. And I have a website, David Chametzky. So that way it's really easy. There's not too many of us around David Chametzky's. So, chances are if you found one, you found the right one.
All right. So last question I ask everybody. We live on the East Coast, and because of our amazing mayors and governors, we're going back on lockdown, I think, again. So, just in New Jersey, New York, we've lost over 1,000 restaurants. So, there's a lot of fathers and mothers that are driving Uber and DoorDash just to put food on the kids' on the table. So if you ask the average person to do something in 7 days, they're not going to get to it because they're so busy in life. But if somebody's listening to this right now and we ask them to take an actionable step in the next 24 hours, they're more likely. So if somebody right now is listening to this and is struggling with their mental health, what is something they can do in the next 24 hours to start to get some help?
Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to teach you a quick reset button that everybody has within themselves. What no matter what you're going through, look to find somebody. Find somebody, a friend. I don't care who it is. There's always somebody to talk to. And like I say on my podcast, if you don't have somebody to talk to, reach out to Uncle Dave. I will make time for everybody, especially veterans and first responders. But the reset, because especially we're seeing some of this on video, is I just want you to rub your hands. You rub your hands for 30 seconds. Really, it's after 15 seconds, but 30 seconds. Just give yourself that time to breathe. It will automatically calm you down, no matter what's going on. And the reason why it will, it's biological. This is not because Uncle Dave says so. This is biological. It'll create delta waves in your head. The delta waves will automatically calm you. You create delta waves automatically when you go to sleep. So create more of them, not putting yourself to sleep, but just calming yourself. Get your body, add to the brain soup that we have, and make sure you spend that time to just a few seconds. I don't care if you're driving Uber, as you suggested. You could do it during a red light. I've done it. I've had panic attacks, and now I don't anymore because I'm taking care of myself. So, but I know that a few minutes of just taking care of yourself, it will work. And that's why I always say, come talk to me for 20 minutes. On my website, I always have, the 20-minute option, no charge. It's all on me. And in 20 minutes, I could change your life. Will I change everything about your life? No. But could I give you some things in, the 20 minutes to help you? 100%. It's been done before.
Man, I love it. I always say that, self-care is so important because you cannot pour from an empty cup. Dave, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. I love hanging out with you. I can't wait to get together, go out for some Italian dinner, sometime and hang out. So, guys, definitely check out the podcast. Amazing guests, amazing things going on. Check out his website. Guys, I want to thank our sponsors. If you guys love Italian food, and if you love, like for New Jersey, Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwiches, definitely go to Mr. G's. They're here right here in Lyndhurst. Check them out. And also, if you guys like swag, like shirts like this, hats, we came out with a brand new coffee. If you guys love coffee, definitely check it out. Go to verticalmomentumpodcast.com and check out everything we're doing. I love you guys. As you guys know, we don't make any money what we're doing, really. So if you just say, leave a comment for me or Uncle Dave, or maybe share it, that's the only thing we ask. So I love you. Dave, have an amazing week. I appreciate you, brother.
Back at you, brother, man. I can't wait. I mean, let's come down. I have my passport to go to the mainland. We can get to Jersey. That's easy.
All right. And guys, remember, vertical momentum. The only way to go is but up.